Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's story. In this episode, Tuna rejects Alex's proposal, troubled by doubts about his closeness with his secretary. Yet, as Alex explains and proves his devotion through his actions, Tuna begins to soften and slowly rebuilds her trust. Alex arrives with a gift box and dreams of a future together. But Tuna, torn between fear and trust, cannot accept. While caring for her farm and child, she also helps a stranger in need, reminding herself of her strength. Meanwhile, Alex quietly supports her, repairing fences, caring for her child, and reassuring her of his loyalty. Though she isn't ready to say yes, Tuna starts to believe in him again. Their story doesn't end with certainty, but with hope. Stay until the end to see how fragile trust turns into the promise of love. Don't forget to subscribe and help us reach 1,000 followers. Your support means so much. The first light of morning slipped gently through the curtains, tinting the room in a soft golden hue. Alex sat at the edge of the bed, his gaze fixed on a small gift box lying beside Tuna's forgotten phone. The box, carefully wrapped in smooth paper, seemed to hold more than just a ring. It carried the weight of years of unspoken feelings and the fragile dream of a shared future. He reached out, tracing the edge of the box with his thumb. The texture felt delicate, almost as if he were touching the fragile hope he'd been carrying in silence. Outside, the world stirred awake. The faint scent of grass after dawn, the cool air rushing through the open window. But inside his chest, a storm brewed. His heart raced unevenly, each beat a reminder of the choice he was about to make. Images of Tuna filled his thoughts, her smile, her quiet strength, the way her voice steadied him even in moments of doubt. He imagined her eyes lighting up at the sight of the ring, her lips curving into a smile that could dissolve every distance between them. He wanted to believe in that vision, yet a cold whisper of doubt slid into his mind. Would she accept? Would she even listen? The questions pressed against him like a bird thrashing inside its cage, desperate to be freed. He told himself that today was the day. No more waiting, no more silence. Today, he would speak his heart. Slipping the phone into his pocket and the gift box into his jacket, Alex stood. The path that lay ahead felt long, but each step was a vow. He would walk to her, face whatever answer she carried, and offer his truth. No matter the outcome, no matter the weight of fear, he knew he had to try. The morning air wrapped around him as he walked, fragile yet steady. The rising sun painted the horizon with pale light, and though the world seemed calm, he carried within him a flame, flickering but determined, guiding him to where his heart had always belonged. At the farm, life moved to its usual rhythm, though Tuna's heart was anything but steady. She worked with practiced motions, scattering feed for the chickens, pouring grain for the pigs, tending to the fish pond. The air was filled with familiar sounds, the clucks, the squeals, the splash of water. Yet inside her, a gnawing heaviness refused to quiet down. Alex. His name drifted through her mind, not as comfort, but as confusion. The image of him with his secretary clung to her thoughts. Their conversation, too close, too warm, too comfortable. She wanted to believe it was nothing more than work. But trust, once shaken, was hard to steady. Wiping the sweat from her forehead, she stared at the dirt road leading out of the farm. Her child's laughter echoed faintly from the nearby hut, where Mrs. Tang, the elderly woman who had settled near them after the floods, was keeping watch. Tuna felt grateful for the old woman's help, yet her unease lingered. She paused, clutching the feed bucket tighter. The sunlight spilled across the yard, but it couldn't chase away the doubts clouding her heart. Every memory of Alex's tenderness was now shadowed by suspicion. The farm, with its endless chores and constant hum of life, felt less like a home and more like a cage, trapping her with the questions she could not shake. Alex soon stood before the wooden gate of the farm. The yard was empty, the familiar sounds oddly absent. Clutching the gift box, he rehearsed the words he had gone over so many times. "Tuna, I've loved you for so long. Will you marry me?" But as he whispered them under his breath, the words felt heavy, uncertain. Could they really bridge the gap that had grown between them? His phone buzzed suddenly, cutting through his thoughts. He answered, and the voice on the other end delivered urgent news. A storm at sea, a cargo ship in trouble, containers lost to the waves. Responsibility pulled him in two directions at once: stay and risk failing his duty, or leave and risk losing the moment he'd been holding on to for so long. He gripped both the phone and the gift box, torn apart by the choice. In the end, duty won. With a heavy heart, he turned away from the gate, promising himself he would return, promising he would not let silence steal this chance forever. But with every step away from the farm, the weight of regret grew heavier. He glanced back, imagining Tuna standing there, her face framed by the wooden gate. Instead, only the wind moved. He walked on, haunted by the fear that this might have been the only chance he'd had. Later that day, the sun bore down on the market road, cicadas humming endlessly in the heat. Tuna walked steadily, her child in her arms, her eyes alert. Suddenly, a figure stumbled toward her, a young woman, her face pale with fear. "Please help me," the woman gasped, clutching Tuna's arm. "They're chasing me." Tuna's gaze flicked to the end of the road, where shadows of men blurred in the distance. Without hesitation, she pulled the stranger into a narrow side path, crouching low behind an earthen embankment. "Stay down," she whispered, her heart racing as shouts echoed faintly, then faded. When silence returned, Tuna turned to the woman, noticing the gash on her leg, blood mixing with dirt. "You can't stay here like this," she said firmly. "Come with me." The woman introduced herself as Tu Quinn, her voice trembling. Together, they made the slow journey back to the farm. Rain clouds gathered above, releasing a soft drizzle as they reached the gate. Inside, Tuna set her child down and quickly fetched a basin of water. She cleaned Tu Quinn's wound with careful hands, the scent of rice porridge filling the small room as it simmered on the stove. For a brief moment, their burdens seemed to lighten. Tu Quinn's eyes softened with gratitude, and Tuna felt something stir within her, a quiet bond forming between two strangers, each carrying scars the world couldn't see. As the rain tapped softly on the roof, Tuna realized that even in her own turmoil, she could still offer kindness, still create a bridge from one wounded soul to another. By the time dusk fell, Alex finally returned, stepping through the farm's gate once again. The gift box weighed heavy in his pocket, the words he'd practiced still unspoken. Tuna stood at the threshold of her home, her child at her side. Her eyes were steady, though her expression was distant. "Alex," she said softly, "I can't accept your proposal." The words struck him like a quiet blow. His chest tightened, his breath caught. "Why?" he asked, voice rough. She met his gaze without wavering. "Because I think you have feelings for your secretary. I've seen how you talk to her. Too close, too familiar. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't ignore what I saw." Alex exhaled, fighting against the hurt rising in him. He stepped closer, his voice low but resolute. "Tuna, it's not what you think. She's my employee. Nothing more. Everything you saw was about work. I never wanted you to feel like this." His words lingered between them, carried by the evening breeze. He saw the doubt still flickering in her eyes, but also a softness, a hesitation that told him she wasn't closing the door completely. "I came today," he continued, "not just to bring back your phone, not just with this gift. I came because I want a life with you." The farm grew quiet, the world narrowing to just the two of them. Tuna gripped her child's hand, her expression conflicted but touched by his sincerity. In that silence, Alex felt the smallest spark of hope. Fragile, uncertain, but enough to believe that trust could be rebuilt, step by step. The dusk deepened, the scent of rain lingering in the air. And though her answer wasn't the one he dreamed of, Alex knew this moment wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Fragile, wounded, but alive with possibility. Night settled over the farm with a slow, steady rhythm. The drizzle from earlier had passed, leaving the ground damp and the air tinged with the earthy scent of wet soil. Lantern light flickered faintly through the wooden windows of Tuna's home, painting long shadows across the yard. Inside, silence stretched between them. Alex sat at the small wooden table, the unopened gift box resting before him. Tuna moved quietly around the room, her child already asleep on the mat, his soft breathing the only sound that dared intrude on the uneasy air. Alex's hands tightened around the edge of the table. He had rehearsed 100 ways to propose, 100 ways to convince her of his devotion, but all of them crumbled when faced with the doubt in her eyes. He lifted his gaze, watching her pour tea into 2 chipped cups. "Tuna," he began, his voice quiet, almost hesitant. "I know words alone may not be enough, but I need you to understand. You're the one I've carried in my heart for years. There is no one else. Not her, not anyone. Only you." Tuna set 1 cup before him, then took the seat opposite. Her fingers curled around the warm porcelain, her eyes lowering to the steam that curled upward. For a moment, she didn't speak. Then she lifted her gaze, her voice steady but soft. "I want to believe you, Alex," she admitted. "But when I saw you with her, it was like something broke inside me. I've lived my whole life fighting to protect myself, to protect my child. Trust, it doesn't come easily. And when I finally started to trust you, I saw something that made me question everything." Her words cut deeper than any rejection. Alex leaned forward, his expression etched with urgency. "Then let me earn it back," he pleaded, Let me prove that my heart belongs only to you. I'll keep showing you every day until there's no room left for doubt. Tuna's lips pressed into a thin line. She wanted to believe him, wanted to let go of the ache that suspicion left in her chest. But she wasn't ready. Not yet. The room fell quiet again, broken only by the distant croak of frogs in the damp fields. Alex reached for the gift box, pushing it gently across the table toward her. "I won't ask you to open it tonight," he said. "Not until you're ready. But know that what's inside isn't just a ring. It's everything I want to share with you. Not just dreams, not just promises. My whole life." Tuna stared at the box, her hands resting motionless on her lap. She didn't reach for it, but she didn't push it away either. The days that followed carried a subtle shift. Life on the farm went on, chores to complete, animals to tend, crops to manage. But an undercurrent of tension lingered between them. Alex visited often, his presence both comforting and heavy. He helped mend the fences, repaired the leaking roof, and carried sacks of grain with ease. Every action seemed to say what words could not. "I am here. I'm not leaving." Tuna noticed. She saw the way he worked without complaint, the way he paused to smile at her child, the way his eyes always sought hers when she thought no one was looking. Yet, her doubts still clung stubbornly, whispering reminders of that moment she had seen him with his secretary. One afternoon, while hanging clothes to dry under the blazing sun, Mrs. Tang approached her. The elderly woman leaned on her cane, her eyes sharp with wisdom carved by years of hardship. "Young lady," Mrs. Tang said, her tone gentle but probing, "I've seen the way that man looks at you. His heart is set. That much is clear. What's keeping yours from meeting his halfway?" Tuna's hand stilled on the damp shirt she was pinning. She lowered her gaze, hesitant to answer. "I'm afraid of being wrong again," she confessed softly. "Afraid of trusting too much and losing everything." Mrs. Tang nodded knowingly. "Fear will keep you safe, but it will also keep you alone. Sometimes you have to let someone prove themselves. Don't shut the door before you've even let him try." Her words lingered in Tuna's mind long after the old woman shuffled away. That evening, Alex returned, his shirt damp with sweat from the day's labor. He carried a basket of vegetables freshly picked from the garden, placing it on the wooden counter with a quiet smile. Tuna studied him as he wiped his brow, her heart tugging against the wall she had built. She thought of Mrs. Tang's words, of Alex's patience, of the gift box still sitting unopened on her shelf. "Alex," she said at last, her voice steady, "tell me about her, your secretary." Alex froze, then slowly turned to face her. His eyes held no anger, only sincerity. "Her name is Lynn. She's been with the company for 3 years. She's hardworking, dependable, and yes, sometimes she talks to me about things outside of work. But I've never crossed a line with her. Not once. My world outside of business ends the moment I leave the office, and all of it points back here, to you." His honesty struck her deeply. For the first time, she felt the doubts within her loosen, even if only slightly. Tuna exhaled slowly, lowering her gaze. "I don't know if I'm ready to open that box," she admitted, "but maybe I can start believing you again." Alex stepped closer, his voice low and gentle. "That's all I ask, Tuna. One step at a time." The days grew warmer, the rhythm of the farm steady, but colored now by cautious hope. Tuna began to see Alex not just through the lens of her doubts, but through the quiet constancy of his actions. He was there when her child fell and scraped his knee, lifting the boy gently and soothing him. He was there when the fish pond nets tore, helping her weave them back together under the sun. Each small act chipped away at the wall between them. One night, under a sky scattered with stars, Tuna sat outside, her child asleep inside. Alex joined her, carrying 2 cups of tea. They sat side by side in silence, the air cool, the night alive with crickets. Finally, Tuna spoke. "I may not be ready to accept your proposal," she said quietly, "but I don't want to lose you either." Alex turned to her, his expression soft, relief flickering in his eyes. "Then let me stay," he replied, "not as your fiancé, not yet, but as the man who will keep proving to you that I'm worthy of your trust." Her lips curved into the faintest smile. For the first time in weeks, the weight in her chest eased. She didn't take his hand, but she didn't pull away when he rested it lightly on the bench beside her. As dawn broke the next morning, the unopened gift box still sat quietly on the shelf. To an outsider, it might have seemed forgotten, but for Alex and Tuna, it had become something else. A promise waiting patiently, a symbol of a future not yet certain, but no longer impossible. Tuna wasn't ready to wear the ring. Not yet. But for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that one day she might be. And Alex, watching her tend to the farm with her child's laughter ringing in the air, felt a fragile but undeniable hope. He hadn't won her hand, but he had taken the first step back into her trust. It wasn't the perfect ending he had imagined, but it was real, and it was theirs. And for now, that was enough.